Hi everybody, my name is Emily Barton. Today I'm going to show you the pre-steps to get ready for LifeWalk, the financial simulation you'll be going through at your school. The materials that you are going to need are going to be a pencil, your LifeWalk handout, and possibly a calculator. So I'll give you a minute to gather those materials. Go ahead and pause the video, and when you're ready with those, we'll get started. Now that you have your materials, let's take a look at the LifeWalk handout, kind of get acquainted with that, and then start working on the prep steps. Okay, so as you take a look at our screen, we've shared screen. We're going to take a look at the handout. I've got a couple of notes on here we're going to use today as well. So let's get acquainted with your handout. First, you're going to have a side that says Welcome to LifeWalk. In this particular area, you are going to have your scenario and your job that you have been assigned. You are going to have a family scenario square. We're going to work a lot with this square today to get prepared. And then the boxes 1 through 7 are what you're going to use when you go into the simulation to know where to start and where to go. So when on simulation day, you're going to use and start with box 1. There's a scenario in box 1. Mine says you got a pay increase this year and you would like to have a new vehicle. Go to reliable rides and then to car insurance. So I'm going to start at the reliable rides booth, and then when I get done there, I'm going to go to car insurance. Then I'll go to number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. On the other side of our paper, we have the looking to the future side. This is where you're going to use your spreadsheet to track your expenses, to do your math, to write down what you've spent, and making sure you keep a running balance to know what you had. So the one side tells you where to go and in what order. This side is where you'll do your math. So, also on this side, you're going to see your occupation again. I was assigned an occupational therapist, and the education it took for that is a master's degree. So, as you look around the room, you see your buddy sitting next to you. Every one of these are going to be different. So, some are master's degrees, some are associate's degrees, some are technical or trade degrees. So, you went to trade school for those careers. Some are high school diploma only, so you just graduated high school. Some are high school dropout. Some are PhD and doctorate degrees, and some are military, either enlisted, which means you went straight in with no schooling, or officer, which means you have some type of degree education to go along with that. So when you look at these particular situations, they also line up with your salary box. So you'll notice, depending on what you are doing, what degree or trade you have a different type of amount of money to spend. So gross monthly salary is what you're getting paid before taxes, before benefits come out, before all of those things that get deducted. Net monthly salary is after all of those things are taken out, and in our case, we accounted for taxes. That's what actually goes into your bank account. So, as you can see, it's a pretty hefty drop from beginning to end, but still doing okay. Now, there are some things we are going to work through your specific card to add on or subtract out for your spouse's income, your child support, and then get to the final total that you will have to use during your simulation. So, as we kind of roll back up, you're also going to see this asset box in the corner. Mine says I'm going to have my mother's pearls. You may have a set of gym equipment, a musical instrument, something. That during the simulation is something that you can sell. So that's there as this extra item. If you wanted to sell it, make a little bit of money, there's an option during the simulation for that as well. So today we are going to work on getting ready to get to our final total balance in order to be ready for the simulation. So during this simulation, you are going to be 26 years old. You are the provider for your family. Your spouse may have an income. You may be getting some child support, but you are the predominantly highest earner in your family. And so you're going to use this income to go through the different booth stations to make purchases. You're going to have to make a house payment. You're going to have to pick out a vehicle that will fit everyone in your family and get them where they need to go. You're going to need to buy groceries. You're going to need to get your electricity and internet and telephones and all of that. And the Welcome to Life Walk side is going to tell you in what order to go through to make sure you get all of your purchases made. So as you walk through those stations, you're making your purchases based on the family scenario in the family scenario box. So let's talk a little bit about that family scenario. They're all, again, just like your occupation and education, going to look a little different. So for mine, it says I am remarried and my spouse works. It says I am the custodial parent in a blended family, and there are 3 children, ages 4, 6, and 7. Those are all things that you are going to need to know in order to buy a big enough house that has enough bedrooms, a big enough vehicle. I've got 5 people to fit in a vehicle, so making sure it has enough seats. Um, Making sure you have the right groceries. Some of you are going to have young children, 6 months, 1 year. They may require specific groceries. So making sure you're picking out the right things to properly care for everyone as you make your purchases. So we're going to take a minute and use our pencil. We're going to add up how many people is in your family scenario. So for me, I am remarried, so that's myself, my spouse, and then I have 3 custodial children. That's 1, 2, 3. So I would put with my pencil, if it will let me through technology, that I have 5. And just kind of put your number over here, circle it. That will help you go a little faster during this scenario. Okay, to talk about some of these words just a little bit more, I'm going to show you some notes that I have. So, obviously, single means you just count yourself. You do not have another spouse to add. Married means you count yourself and the spouse. Remarried means you count yourself and a spouse. If you have custodial parent, it means you're going to have your kids 5 days a week, typically during the school week. Um, so you'll count up those 3 students. When you're buying groceries, when you're getting different things, you'll need to account for you have them the majority of the time. If you are listed as non-custodial parent, you're going to have your kids Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. So 2.5 days. So as you're thinking about groceries and other things, you're going to be picking and choosing decisions based on you have your kids about 2.5 days a week. So things to think about as you go through the simulation. Okay, so now that we've counted up our family scenario, we know how many people we have. We need to start working on adding up to our total balance. So for this, you need to look into your family scenario box and see if you have anything child support. I have add 350. So with that knowledge, I am going to go on down and I'm going to put plus 350 on my child support line. Some of you will have subtract and an amount. So you'd want to put your minus and so much because you're paying another parent to have those kids more. So for me, I would go ahead and put plus 350. All right. The other thing we're going to check is that we have a spouse income. So it looks like mine has a glitch on it. Bear with me just a second. So mine is actually not showing up, but I should have add $1,000 for spouse income. So we're going to fix that on mine real quick. If you find you have an error on your card, please let your teacher know and they can make a decision on how to edit it, get you a new card. There were plenty of extras in the set. So we need to add 1,000 for our spouse work as well. So I'm going to go on back down to our card and I'm going to do plus 1,000 for that as well. So if you need a minute to work through that, pause the video, run it back to make sure you've got to this step, go ahead. Okay, now that you've got caught up, you've added in your spouse income and your child support. We're going to get our grand total. You are welcome to use a calculator for this step. So, when you do your grand total, you are going to take your net monthly income plus any spouse income plus or minus any child support. Of course, if you had a 0 for spouse income, it's not going to change anything. And then plus, minus, or 0 on child support as well. So take a minute, use your calculator, get to your final income, and then you are going to write it in the oval right here under total income. I'm going to do the same. For me, because I'm on the computer, I'm going to have to write it right to the side. But you guys have the ability there to write it in the circle. Okay, now that you're back, you've got to your total income. You're just going to take that same number, move it right up here into the total income line under balance. Okay, so that is going to be the amount from your net monthly income, your spouse income, and any child support that was added or subtracted. That's the final amount that went into your checking account for this month. From here is where we're going to do a couple of examples to pick out a few things to use our chart, and then we'll talk about how we're going to use this in the simulation before we close. So, most of the time, medical insurance is going to come out of your paycheck before net monthly income. In order to go ahead and take that out, in our case, we're going to do it after to practice using our tracking sheet to keep our balance. So you have a decision to make. This will be your first choice that you get to make as your head of your household. So I'm going to scroll up to my notes just a second. Now, you need to choose a health insurance plan that works for your family. I'm going to describe each one and then we'll show you how to make that choice in your chart. So there are 4 choices for your family. Plan A covers all costs of any medical expense, but you have to pay $500 a month to have it. So when we say it covers everything, if you have a child, they break their arm during the simulation, you're not going to have to pay any kind of bill extra to take care of that. The $500 a month takes care of it. If you have a curveball card that you draw and it says your child got the flu, you're not going to have to pay anything extra to go to the doctor. The $500 takes care of it. Plan B is similar, but you're going to have a copay plan. What that means is you're going to pay $250 a month, so you're paying less each month. But for those flu visits, urgent cares, small things, you're going to pay $25 for the visit to take care of it. Those big things like broken arms, you're going to pay $100. If it happens, you may not get any medical things to happen during the simulation. So cheaper per month, but if something happens, you pay a little. That's the Plan B insurance. Plan C is no insurance at all. Of course, you don't have it, so you're going to pay nothing. But if something comes up, you draw one of those curveball cards where you get a broken arm, a broken leg, the flu, you have to pay the whole bill right then. So that could be $850 or more for one of those more serious things. So it's kind of a chance if you pay nothing, but you have to pay a whole lot if something happens. Then we have Plan D, our low income option. You do not pay anything during the month. You have $5 visits for anything emergency, anything doctor visit, if it happens. But you have to make less than 3,000 total income. So what that means is in that total income that we just got tallied and wrote on our chart, if it is 3,000 or less, you do not have to pay anything. You can choose Plan D. If you make 3,001, you have to choose one of the other three plans. This is not an option. Okay, knowing what the four plans are, for me, I'm going to choose Plan B. I like the idea that I'm going to pay a little less and pay if something happens. So I'm going to go back to my chart. I am going to write Plan B to describe it so that I know which one I chose. If I draw a card and need to go do insurance, I've got notes that tells me what it is. I'm going to subtract the 250 and then I'm going to do the math to get that total. I'm going to scroll back up to the choices. Teachers, you can pause the video, let them make their choice. Bear with me, it's going to jump around on me here. There we go. So they can make their choice and then go down to that descriptor box and make their write their description, subtract out what it cost, and get their new balance. Okay. Okay, now that you've done that, I'm going to add my new balance to my sheet. Okay, so we keep talking about curveballs. During the simulation, there's going to be some leaders walking around with cards, and they're just going to randomly hand you a curveball. On that curveball could be anything from you're in a wedding, you need to go buy your bridesmaid's dress, to your kid broke their arm, to kind of anything in between, have a flat tire. It's all of those things that just happen to us that we don't plan for, and they usually cost money. Now, sometimes there's some good ones in there too. So it might be your grandma sent you a birthday card and you got $50. So some of them aren't bad. Some of them you get to make some money. So those are really nice. So we're going to do our first curveball as a student loan. And then anytime you get a curveball during the simulation, you've got these empty blanks. So let's say you just finished up at car insurance and you get a curveball card. You can write curveball, whatever it was. I'm going to say broken arm, because we know up in medical insurance that for my plan, it's going to cost me $100. And then wherever my balance was, I'll just subtract it and be ready to go again. Okay. So, but for student loans, we're going to practice this one. So, for those of you with a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, or a PhD, you have a student loan. In the state of Tennessee, there are programs for trade schools, associate's degrees, and of course, going high school diploma and dropout doesn't have student loans at all. So your associate's degree folks and your trade school folks, you utilize those Tennessee scholarships and you don't have any student loans to pay back. Good for you. For our higher degrees, there may be some student loans involved. There are things out there that you can do to not have a student loan, but for the simulation, you're going to have some student loans to pay back. So for this, you are just going to input in the description again, student loan, and we're going to go get what your student loan will be based on your degree. So, our bachelor's degree folks, you are going to subtract 250. Our master's degree folks, you are going to subtract 500. And our PhD, master's degree, or doctorates, you guys are going to subtract 1,000. So we'll go ahead. Remember that you put that number. So mine is 500 for a master's degree. You subtract and then write your new balance. So I'm going to head right on back up so you guys can see them. Take a minute to work through your math and get to your final balance. Okay, now that you have gotten to that final balance, I'm going to write mine in as well. I found an error, so I'm going to fix that real quick. Now, again, those curveball cards could come at any point. You'll just kind of use those blank spaces to write them in if they come. You may never get one. You may get lucky and the leader wandering around never finds you. But those are things that you can add in as you go. So at this point, you are ready for your simulation. You should have your total income in the oval, have transferred it to the balance sheet, and then completed your medical insurance with a new total and your student loan with a new total. If you are one of the folks that had no student loans, you are welcome to write 0 and then just move your amount on down so that you are staying with us. From here, we will be to your school very soon to utilize and to do the simulation with you. At that point, we'll give you some instructions right before you start. We'll make sure your card is ready to go, that you are at your good starting point, and then you will follow your 7 steps to get through the simulation, making those purchases. In the meantime, teachers, if you have any questions, if you find some errors that we need to make some corrections on, let us know and we will take care of that. But we look forward to seeing you guys very soon at your school.